So you keep sabotaging success, and I want you to start off this video by just recognizing that you are sabotaging. That's why you're here. I want you to take yourself 5 years from now to the point where you're standing and you're reflecting back at every single time you got to this point and fell off. You got to this point, you fell, and it kept happening. And I want you to really just genuinely look back from that 5-year standpoint and think about how frustrated you're going to be. Looking back, if you didn't stop sabotaging, how frustrated will you be? What feeling is going to be inside of you? Is it going to be a relieving feeling? Is it going to be peace? Is it going to be gratitude? Probably not. You're going to probably be very frustrated looking back, wondering why you kept falling off, wondering why you couldn't just keep moving up and up and up and up. Why could I not do it? Well, the cool thing for you is watching a video like this, you're watching someone that helps clients remove this permanently. Not in a way that is just an idea, well, you can remove your sabotage. No, genuinely remove it permanently. That's why 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs hire me to help them remove the procrastination, remove the sabotage, remove the resistance that's holding them back from going to the next level. And when they remove it, it happens permanently. And the good thing for you, you're going to gain the awareness that I give my clients, like Bernard, who's looking to exit a 9-figure exit with his unicorn company. He's a founder of a unicorn company. Or Liam, that couldn't bring himself to do the ads. Kept sabotaging, knowing that the ads would be the thing that would take his business from 100k to 200k plus a month. One session, gone. And a big part of that was the awareness I'm going to give you today. I'm actually going to tell you exactly how to remove it, so you're going to be positioned like these guys are, with no resistance, or at least the choice to stop sabotaging, because awareness is the gap. The gap between the version of you now and the version of you that stops procrastination or sabotaging is awareness. This video is going to give you that. So you don't need to worry, you're in good hands. You're in the hands and watching a video of someone that does this for a living. So let's figure out why. And I want to give you a perspective that is going to give you an understanding as to maybe the things that you're doing right now aren't actually helping. Maybe the approach that you're currently taking, it's only making it worse. Maybe it's only making you more frustrated. Maybe you're trying harder, there's more effort involved, and you still don't change. You still sabotage, you still fall off. And it's because of this. And there's a law that I want to introduce you to if you've never heard of it before. The law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect states that every cause creates an effect, and every effect is created by a cause. Why this is really important is because I want to use this law to make you aware that the sabotage, the experience that you're having at the moment, that is the effect. And what a lot of people will do is they'll try and change the effect by trying to change the effect. And what they will fail to do is they will fail to locate the cause. So this effect right now for you is sabotage, is procrastination, is avoidance, is bad habits, whatever that looks like for you. But what is the cause? Well, as I've told you, awareness is really what the gap is between the version of you right now that's sabotaging, procrastinating, and the version of you that has the success and stops procrastinating and sabotaging. So by the end of this video, you're not only going to become aware of the cause, but you're going to be able to, and with the awareness I give you, remove it. You're actually going to have actionable tools to completely remove the cause, because ultimately, until you change the cause, the effect never changes. But if you try to change the sabotage by working harder, by pushing through, again, a lot of people try this, but it makes them frustrated. It causes them to just get more and more frustrated, and ultimately it leads to more stress. More stress leads to more sabotage, more overwhelm, more avoidance, more procrastination. So changing the effect will never change the effect, because the law of cause and effect states that the cause is what creates the effect. So let's figure out what is the cause. Let's think about what is it that's causing you to procrastinate. Well, there's a few things. And ultimately, until you become aware of this, you're never going to position yourself to remove the sabotage. And there's a few things here that I want you to become aware of so that you're in a position to really understand, because a lot of people, they go round in circles. And I have clients coming to me, like my client, like I mentioned, Liam, wasn't shooting content, wasn't shooting the ads. And what was this, right? To him, it was a bit of stress, a bit of anxiety around doing it, but ultimately what was actually happening was something called emotional resonance. So that emotional resonance in that moment was creating resistance. And the reason why emotional resonance is very important to understand is if you today have resistance, okay, and this is happening today, then it's very important to understand that this resistance is not random. Okay, this resistance is something that you have learned. This resistance is tied to a past experience where the action that you're going to take is going to lead to whatever resonates with that past experience. Let me make this make sense in Liam's case. Well, he had ads to shoot. Well, what happens when he shoots ads? Well, yes, his business is going to grow, but what actually happens? You shoot ads, what happens? Well, you become more visible. What is that? Is being seen. Well, when I asked him, what feeling is coming up? When you have this emotional resonance and this resistance shows up, where do you feel it? And he said, well, I have tightness, okay, in my chest. That's where I have this. I have tightness in my chest. And I said, well, let me ask you, when was the earliest memory you can remember having this? When was the earliest memory you have that you felt this tightness in the chest? Well, he said, I can remember back to a time in school. And I said, what happened? Just tell me the details as much as you can. And he said, I can't really remember, but I can remember feeling embarrassed. And I said, well, what happened? And as I started to prompt him, as he started to relax as we were talking, the little window, that filter that was trying really hard to find it, started to relax and almost soften, right? And his subconscious mind became open. And he started to get more clarity around this memory, this experience that he stored. Well, he told me, in class, I was actually at the time working on something like a little business. He was shooting content, posting content. And in this experience, the teacher actually showed the content to the full class. And what happened? Everyone was laughing, even the teacher was laughing. And it made him feel a very, very strong emotion that I'm going to use red to draw with. And it made him feel shame. Well, in that moment, that shame that he felt, that was stored in his nervous system, that was stored in his subconscious mind. And what happened, right, he learned that being seen equals shame. And what this done was, this became resistance that he felt today. This became an association, okay, a subconscious association to being seen. So anytime he would do something in his business that might lead to being seen, he would have this resistance show up, the tightness in his chest, because he was emotionally resonating with that past experience. So an experience that happened when he was a teenager was resonating with the present moment. And because he had that negative experience, his nervous system, his subconscious mind, because it is irrational, it is not logical, your subconscious mind is irrational, it was detecting posting ads as a threat. And because of this, he had resistance. Because of this, what was happening? He was sabotaging. He was avoiding the thing that he knows he should have, right? And this might not be your specific program that's holding you back, this specific pattern that's showing up, but ultimately this can start to give you an idea of what is maybe running in the background for you. Because ultimately this is running underneath your conscious awareness, and that's why it's invisible and you can't see it. You're not consciously aligned with this because it's irrational. It's not actually aligned with what you consciously desire, and that's why it's frustrating. But until you understand, well, what is the resistance that's showing up today? Where do I feel it in my body? When was the first time I felt this? What feeling did I feel in that moment? You're never going to really understand how to trace back to the memory or the experience that you had that shaped you in a way that's creating today's resistance. So this obviously allowed Liam and me to become aware of what was actually holding him back. And this is us getting closer to you finding out what your cause is, because you can now, with this awareness, understand, well, what resistance is it that's showing up today? Is it when I go to create content, I get resistance? Or is it when I go to make an investment, I feel scarcity, I feel fear, and then I'm not going to go and do it. You need to find out what exact point you're stopping yourself, what exact point you're procrastinating with, so you can understand what is maybe an experience that's happened that has tied what you're about to do as unsafe, as a threat. That's going to position you to understand what the cause is and why this resistance keeps showing up. Now we're getting closer to exactly what is going to happen when you understand the cause. Well, the first thing that you can do is you can actually use something which is called memory reconsolidation. And memory reconsolidation is a psychotherapeutic technique where you can actually reconsolidate the memory. So what happens, to give you a simple understanding as to what actually goes on, is you go through life, you have an experience, right? We'll just call it EX. That experience is consolidated and it's stored as a memory. Well, what happens is that memory is stored in your subconscious mind with whatever emotion that was tied to it. And the ones that are very strong and intense and negative, these are the ones that are stored, because any kind of negative emotion is stored and signaled as a threat, because it's something that was unsafe, it was something that didn't feel good. And anything that doesn't feel good, anything that's negative, your subconscious mind has one job, it's irrational, to keep you safe, so it will detect anything that's negative as a threat. It's not going to forget that because it's unsafe. That thing isn't safe, so I will keep you safe because my one job is to keep you alive. That's how the subconscious mind operates, right? And it only speaks in emotion. The language of the subconscious mind is emotion, it's not logical. So this is why you have this weird resistance that doesn't make sense with what you consciously think about yourself. And it's because of this fact, right? So you have an experience, it's consolidated as a memory. That emotion from the memory is stored in your subconscious, and this is a threat. And then when this threat shows up today, or anything that's similar to it, well then what happens? You have emotional resonance, like we spoke about, and emotional resonance is what then unconsciously triggers a reaction that creates the resistance. So you then have the feeling that is tied to the same event that shows up as resistance. And that's what you keep getting every time you go to do the thing you know you should, and you get this resistance, right? Well, what can we do? Well, instead of that just consolidating and that staying as a memory that's stored, that emotionally resonates, what we can do is we can actually consolidate it. You can actually reconsolidate this memory. And what happens, and how you do this with the reconsolidation, is you need to activate this again. So the original memory, this here, you activate that again. Okay, so you activate it by, and again, you don't need to get into a relaxed state, but it definitely helps to access that memory to get into a relaxed state. But you activate the memory, okay? And then once that is activated, once that resistance and that feeling is in your body, you're going to provide a mismatch of information. So you're going to provide contradictory information that proves that is actually safe. Okay, so in that moment of the negative response being triggered, you will, in that moment, you can use age regression, which is a really good technique in hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, where you actually see your older self, yourself today, in the memory with that younger self, keeping that version of you safe. And in that moment, as the resistance is triggering and you appear in this moment, the mismatch is that version of you can actually feel safe in the memory because you're there with them. And that mismatch, that contradiction, it actually trains your nervous system to not store this memory as a threat. It allows you to reconsolidate it so that that is no longer stored as a threat that is emotionally resonating with the present moment, and that resistance will literally not show up again. It genuinely can't, because it's not stored as the same thing. It's not stored when this is stored. You want to think about this threat is stored as a program. Okay, and you say like a part of you is stored, program, a part of you, these kind of things. But this program, essentially, instead of being stored as the initial memory that was a threat, it becomes a memory that is no longer a threat, and the memory that was stored negatively is now registered as safe. So no longer will you have this resistance that shows up, but it's important that you understand that you can, with any experience you go through that's negative, reconsolidate it, change it so it no longer shows up as a threat. You're in a position right now where the gap is awareness, and when you become aware of what exactly you went through, what experience you had that created this negative feeling that is today emotionally resonating with what's going on, you can actually change it. You can permanently reconsolidate it so there's no longer a threat stored in your nervous system that is resonating with your present moment. So that's one thing. That's a really good thing. And this is going to remove that emotional charge, and ultimately it's going to position you to no longer have the resistance, right? But what happens, and what I notice all the time from clients, I notice this a lot, and that is they count the score too quick. So when you count the score too quick, ultimately what it is you're doing is you're focusing, okay, you're focused on your current 3D reality, your current third dimensional results that you have, this external result, whether it's a number in your bank account, whether it's your current number of clients, whether it's the revenue in your business that you currently have, right? You focus on this. And if your 3D reality that you currently have has your current results, well, I assume that the current results that you have are not aligned with the vision. Okay, not aligned with your vision. And the vision, I assume, you're making more money, you have more clients, you've got more freedom. So if your focus goes on to the 3D, your current results that aren't aligned with the vision, let's look at this. Well, your 3D is what you're focused on. What you focus on dictates how you feel. If you focus on the positive, you're going to feel positive. If you focus on the negative, you're going to feel negative. So when you focus on the 3D, you feel emotions that are aligned with the 3D. And when you feel emotions that are aligned with the 3D, what happens when you feel a certain way? Well, that dictates how you behave, the decisions that you make. So your behavior and decisions are also aligned with the 3D. And think about it. What do your behavior and your decisions lead to? Well, your behavior and your decisions lead to the outcome. So what happens? You get stuck in this third dimension. You get stuck with your current results. You're genuinely not able to change this because you keep focusing on the results that you currently have. Well, let me open you up to the concept of the fourth dimension, because Neville Goddard speaks about this. Neville Goddard is one of the GOATs. The fourth dimension, okay, is essentially where your vision currently exists, okay? Your vision currently exists in the fourth dimension, which is in your imagination. But if the fourth dimension is your imagination, and this is where your vision currently lives, well then, how is it going to help? What does this mean, Kyle? What are you talking about, right? Well, what people can't do is they can't keep their focus on what they want, because they keep drifting into focusing on what they currently don't have or have that doesn't align with what they want, right? Well, if we persist with our focus in alignment with the fourth dimension, then what's going to happen? How we feel, the emotions of already having the vision is what we will feel, because that's what we're focused on. And then that will start to dictate and drive our behavior and our decisions to align with the fourth dimension, the vision, what we want. And then ultimately, what will that lead to? If we think about it logically, if you make decisions and take actions that align with feeling what it's like to already have, well then you end up with the outcome of the fourth dimension. But the reason why people count the score too quick is because this doesn't happen instantly. You don't get the results overnight. It doesn't happen instantly. There's a gap between taking the action and results physically showing up. So I'm going to give you a very, very good analogy that's going to help you really understand exactly why people count the score too quick, and it's going to give you the awareness so that you can stop counting the score too quick if this is something that you do. So the deeper pattern is that emotional resonance that we spoke about, but this is also something that people do when they sabotage. They count the score too quick. I want to give you the analogy of planting a seed. Well, you plant the seed. Well, what happens if we look at this as time? Well, when you plant a seed, what actually happens? Well, over a little bit of time, the seed starts to grow roots. And then eventually, what happens when the seed grows? Well, it turns into a plant. And then there's a plant that you can see out the ground. But I want you to bring awareness to this. When you plant the seed initially, there's a period of time here where there are no visible results. There's no visible results. You cannot see a plant here or here. And during this time, what people do when they count the score too quick is they look to see why the plant isn't there. They look to see why they don't have the results. I want you to think about this being the 3D. Okay? Now, eventually you're going to get this. But if you're focused on the results that you currently have and the fact that you don't have the things that you want, you're going to come in here and you're going to dig up the seed. This is essentially what it is, using this analogy. And when you dig up the seed, what you're not allowing is for the seed to grow roots and the plant to come out the ground. So when you're focused on the results that you don't have and the fact that you've got a lower amount in your bank account than you desire, what you're doing is you're reinforcing the feeling of not having, which will then lead to sabotage. It's going to lead to you avoiding things, feeling demotivated, and essentially not doing the things you know you should to move forward, right? Well, what's something that we can really do? How can we create a scenario where we don't focus on the 3D and our focus is persistent, right? And we do focus on the 4D. Well, this is the other tool that I'm going to give you. If you internally, emotionally, and I want you to think about this being a vivid imagination that you have, okay? And I want this to be an intense imagination and experience that you have. If we do this and we intensely and emotionally experience the 4D, the vision, the life that we want, well then what's going to happen is when we intentionally experience this, the vision, we're going to be a lot less reliant on the 3D. Well then what's actually going to happen is, with the 4D, we're going to be able to detach from the 3D. And when we're able to detach from needing 3D results, we're going to look less. We're going to count the score less. But we're only able to do this if we can intentionally and vividly, emotionally experience internally the life that we want. Okay, how do we do this? Well, I personally have hypnosis tracks, okay, that I give my clients. I give hypnosis tracks to my clients, and these hypnosis tracks allow my clients to intensely and emotionally experience having the life that they want. Already being the version of them that has the results. So if you can do this, you're not only going to detach from needing to see external results, because internally you're existing in a state of already having, but you're going to count the score less. You're going to sabotage less because you're just existing in the state of being the version of you that has what you want. And when you're existing in a state, taking the action is a lot easier. The way that your brain will filter reality will also align with that feeling, right? Because ultimately, the brain is a receiver, okay? And when we exist internally, in the state of already having, because the brain is a receiver, it's going to filter your reality and it's going to receive information that aligns with the 4D. You're going to get ideas. You're going to see opportunities. You're going to meet the right people that align with the 4D, that align with the vision, because you're connected to it. You're feeling what it's like to already have it. And ultimately, the position that you're in right now is you have none of these tools. You have nothing that's actually going to help you intensely experience this vision that you have. But you do now. Because in the bio, I'm going to give you access to a hypnosis track for free that's going to allow you to experience this. It's going to allow you to lie there, get into a relaxed state, and emotionally experience the vision, which is going to help with what I've just spoke about. But the other part that I spoke about, the reconsolidation, the part where you can actually go in and you can rewrite the memories. I'm not going to lie to you. This is what I do with my one-to-one clients. I do this with my group coaching clients as well that also have access to me one-to-one. But it's something that I would really recommend you doing the conscious work. I'm not going to stand here and say that you can just reconsolidate memories on your own and do it correctly and it's going to create permanent change. You need to do it with someone that knows what they're doing. So the second solution of intensely experiencing the vision internally, so you can rely less on the external, stop counting the score, stop digging the seed up, you're going to have a track in the bio for that. But the other thing, to locate the actual cause to the resistance, to remove it, to reconsolidate it, you need to do that with someone that knows what they're doing. And that's why you can work with me. So there's also a link in the bio where you can apply to work with me one-to-one. Now my availability isn't huge. I'm genuinely very busy with one-to-ones, but you're in a position where you have access to that. You've now got the awareness to know that these are the tools that you need to use to remove that resistance. And this is the least bullshit information that you're ever going to get. This is actually giving you the answer to the problems. It's not, you've got a fear of failure, but why have you got a fear of failure? Well, ultimately, you probably don't. You've likely more so got a fear of success, because that success is going to lead to you being seen, more responsibility. Maybe you've grew up and money has been stressful, so you've created a subconscious association that money equals stress. So making more money, when you get to that point, that's not going to make you feel good. It's going to make you feel fear, stress, anxiety. Your nervous system is going to emotionally resonate with making more money being unsafe, because that's what you've learned. That's the memories that you've got. And until you reconsolidate those memories and remove the emotional charge, rewrite those programs that were written, you're going to keep emotionally resonant. You're going to keep having this resistance. So if you want to remove it permanently, it needs to be with someone that knows what they're doing. And you need to do the conscious work beforehand. But at least you now know and have the awareness that this is how you do it. That's the cause, is those internal programs. And this is how you delete them. And also, with this track that I've gave you, you can actually put new programs in. Because when you emotionally experience the life that you want, that's you creating new programs that align with being the version of you that you want. But if you're creating new programs and new wiring on top of old ones that aren't reconsolidated or removed, you're kind of just layering it on top, and they're always going to be there. It's always going to, even if you feel good right now, it's a matter of time before it gets triggered again, right? And yes, you can emotionally experience the life that you want, and those old wirings start to become weaker, but deleting them and removing them is a much better way to go about it. Again, I'm going to give you the most honest approach, the most clinical, deep approach to help you remove it, because that's what I'm here to do. Is help you genuinely delete sabotage. So, I appreciate your time and attention. Hopefully this video's gave you the awareness to really position you to remove the sabotage. Do not miss the track in the bio. Make sure you click it, make sure you download it, make sure you use it. It's free, it's for you. It's for the people that have watched the video until the point where I've offered it, because that shows you're committed. It shows that you're in a position where you actually want to remove the sabotage. So until the next video, I appreciate your time so much. And when you do the track and it feels amazing, let me know.